Hello, I'm Tony Ryle. I'm Chairman of the Board of Transpower New Zealand. And to my left is Alison Andrew, who is the Chief Executive of Transpower. And welcome to our first online annual general meeting. It's a way that we want to be able to communicate with a much wider group of people than you would get at a normal AGM of a state-owned enterprise. Today we're going to talk about some of the achievements of the company over the last year and some of our plans for the future of the national grid. This is my first annual meeting as Chair of Transpower, and I have to say that I'm very pleased to be part of a company that is making such a difference to the lives of New Zealanders on a daily basis. Electricity is fundamental to our way of life, and I've seen since joining the Transpower board just how dedicated the people in this company are to achieving the core purpose of Transpower, and that's to connect New Zealanders to their power system through safe, smart solutions for today and tomorrow. For Transpower, this has been a very big year in preparing for the future of the electricity industry. And we've set out in a document called Transmission Tomorrow, which is also available on our website, our updated view of that future. We've identified the challenges and the changes ahead and how we might respond to these. New technologies are emerging, the electricity sector is evolving, and society is changing around us. Our energy system is on the cusp of significant change, and the changes we face are about giving individuals and families new options for making, storing and controlling electricity. So it's an uncertain future that will be affected by climate change, a growing urban population and new technology which will change the profile of how we use electricity on a daily basis. Our business here at Transpower will need to adapt to these changes, and we've refocused our strategic priorities around our long-term outlook for the future that's set out in Transmission Tomorrow. And we're going to talk about these as we take you through the operational and financial highlights of the last 12 months of Transpower. But first, let's have a quick overview of Transpower for those of you watching who may not know us as well as other people do. Transpower has two roles. We're the state-owned enterprise that builds, plans, maintains and operates New Zealand's high voltage electricity transmission network, the national grid, which includes around 11,200 kilometres of transmission lines and 169 substations all over the country. We're also what they call the system operator, appointed by the Electricity Authority and responsible for the operation of the electricity system 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And the system operator dispatches the wholesale electricity market. So together, these two functions ensure New Zealanders receive a safe, secure and reliable supply of electricity to power our homes and our businesses. And Alison and I are now going to take you through our financial and operational results for the last year. One of our strategic priorities established under Transmission Tomorrow is to be more efficient and evolve our services to remain competitive. Transpower have performed well both financially and operationally this year, achieving all of our statement of corporate intent targets. And this is despite a more challenging environment in the transmission business under our what they call the second regulatory control period, RCP2. And that's a framework that's set by the Commerce Commission, which covers all Transpower's transmission activities. The new regulatory parameters under RCP2 resulted in a lower allowable return and therefore lower financial performance than last year. We have new challenging efficiency targets, including those focusing on our transmission network performance as experienced by our customers. Financial incentives linked to performance against these measures continue to be closely monitored and made publicly available. Alison will talk shortly around our operational and network reliability performance. This year we agreed a new systems operator service provider agreement with the Electricity Authority worth $216 million over the next 5 years. The agreement contains very demanding requirements for long-term planning, efficiency and performance, and we've undergone a rigorous process to prepare for these challenges and are focused on ensuring that we continue to deliver a secure and reliable electricity system and an efficient market. So let's look at how we performed financially to begin with. Transmission revenue was $974 million. That's a decrease of $10 million on the previous year. And this was due to a range of factors related to changes in the way that Transpower's revenue is calculated under that new regulatory control period I talked about earlier on, including the cost of capital and performance incentives. Net profit after tax before changes in fair value of financial instruments was down 1% to $193 million. And our capital expenditure for the year was $230 million, down 36% on last year, reflecting the deferral of work where appropriate into later years of the regulatory period. And through tight cost control and efficiencies, Transpower has found, as part of our major business transformation program, that we've held operating expenses to a 1.2% increase, and that increase is mainly due to greater asset maintenance. And the total dividend that we've been able to pay to the taxpayers of New Zealand was $163 million. Overall, we're seeing the efficiencies that we need, both in the way we manage our assets and deliver grid services to support our long-term view of providing attractive, cost-efficient services that meet the changing needs of our customers. Let's look now at our operational highlights. Alison.
Thank you, Tony, and may I extend a warm welcome to our online viewers. We've had a successful year operationally with a number of key initiatives completed. Our full operating performance can be viewed in our online annual review, which is on our website, www.transpower.co.nz. I'm going to focus on a few of these highlights here. First of all, I'll talk about safety. Ensuring confidence in our operations, which is one of our strategic priorities, depends on public and worker safety. This time last year, our total recordable frequency rate, our TRIFR, was 13.3 against a target of no more than 8. And we were really challenged to lift our operational performance dramatically in the safety area. I'm pleased to say our efforts, which were combining behavioural awareness initiatives and campaigns targeting our people and all our service provider staff, saw us finish the year with a TRIFR of 7.8, a 40% reduction, which is really pleasing. So we achieved this result by working closely with our service providers, who undertake the majority of work in the field, to help identify and drive improvements that made our entire workforce safer. During the year, we introduced an improved risk management framework and analysis. So using semi-quantitative risk assessments based on bow tie analysis, we've identified possible high consequence, low probability events, those things that nearly seriously harm or kill somebody, and their possible causes and consequences, to agree on the appropriate controls, what we can do to try and prevent or minimise the event occurring. There's always more work to do. We recognise that safety is a continual journey, and we will sustain our focus on worker and public safety and operating safely as a top priority. Network reliability relates directly to our core purpose, given that it measures how often the lights go off. Pleasingly, there were no major grid interruptions over the year, meaning we exceeded our asset reliability targets. A core component of our electricity system is our HVDC link, the power cables and system that connects the North Island and the South Island. We met our HVDC availability target, allowing around 75 gigawatt hours per week of lower cost hydro generation from the South Island to be sent north due to favourable hydro conditions and thermal plant closures at Southdown and Otahuhu. Unfortunately, we missed our HVAC availability target due to a high volume of scheduled maintenance work in the lower South Island. We continue to work on outage planning to improve scheduling and forecasting, which enables us to give our customers more time to plan and communicate. This year, a new change management framework has seen the average outage request lead time increase from 10 days to 40 days in advance. During the year, we worked with the Electricity Authority on a reserves and frequency management program in our role as system operator. Capitalising on technology from our 2014 HVDC upgrade, we've allowed instantaneous electricity transfer between islands, saving more than $22 million in reserve procurement and frequency keeping costs in our first year. I'm pleased to report that earlier this month, the program achieved a fully fledged single market for electricity across New Zealand. Tony mentioned earlier that we're facing a changing, uncertain future. In terms of carbon policy, emerging technology, and demand profiles, we must be able to adapt to evolving security of supply and market circumstances. With plant closures during the year and projected at Huntly in 2022, along with Auckland's population growth, our system operations and grid development teams worked closely during the year to inform industry decision-making, releasing a series of reports on the effects of thermal decommissioning on the power system. Informed by these reports, we've embarked on the Waikato and Upper North Island voltage management investigation, which will shape investment decisions this year and beyond. A predominant theme for our business this year has been realising efficiencies, which will allow us to be more nimble in a quickly evolving environment. We've had a major behavioural and operational transformation program underway across the business. With a shift in our investment from new assets to managing and maintaining our existing assets more efficiently, a major milestone of this transformation program was on the delivery of a new designed grid operating model, how we deliver our core grid business. This new way of working and a new way of structuring will ensure grid asset management decision-making and enable significant capital and operating cost savings on the grid. Through this targeted transformation program, we forecast we can realise more than $100 million of savings over this regulatory control period. This year we've begun work on our diversity and inclusion strategy, and this is recognising that there's a lot of value to be had from ensuring that we have a diverse workforce where we get different points of view coming to the table and everyone feels included when they are at work. As part of the Champions for Change initiative, I'm pleased to say we are above the national average for gender diversity at both board and senior management level, but recognise we're below the state sector average. We have a lot of work to do in this area, but I'm excited about the possibilities ahead for Transpower. Our business transformation program will continue in 2016-17 and support our move to a new premises that will see our head office staff in Wellington working in a mostly mobile, paperless environment. All in all, it was a busy year with a new regulatory control period, significant changes in the market, and our transformation program all underway. Now I'll turn it back to Tony to talk about transmission pricing and how we're working with our customers.
Thank you, Alison. Our continual focus on increased efficiency, innovative thinking and transformation efforts will help to ensure that our component of the end consumer's electricity bill is kept as low as possible. As you can see on this graph here, throughout the 1990s and the early 2000s, transmission prices decreased, and that was reflecting an environment where there was a view of little investment in the grid. And as a result, transmission charges went from being nearly 15% of a typical homeowner's bill to around 9%, which is where they sit today, even after the major asset building program of the early 2000s. With limited major greenfield investments in the short to medium future, our forecasts indicate that although there may be fluctuations from year to year, transmission revenue will remain flat over the next 5 years. This year we worked with the Electricity Authority to agree some small but significant operational changes to the transmission pricing methodology, which have allowed South Island renewable generation to replace North Island thermal generation. These changes have saved the industry and you, the consumers, an estimated $65 million and should yield similar savings in future years. This is separate from the Electricity Authority's significant review of transmission pricing that's currently underway. It's important to remember that we're part of a wider value chain, and working with our generator and distributor partners is critical for us to continue providing essential infrastructure services for customers. This year we undertook a customer survey which tracked key performance metrics on their experiences and our service during loss of supply events and project delivery. We learned that we could communicate promptly and efficiently, but that Transpower needs to improve its understanding of our customers' technical requirements and the time it takes to respond to new service requests. Over the coming year, we'll look closely with our customers on how we can address this feedback, and looking ahead as we prepare our submission in the new regulatory control period RCP3, we have work underway engaging with our customers to confirm the appropriate service levels and how we can optimise site operation.
With assets on more than 10,000 properties and our network running across more than 30,000 properties nationwide, effective landowner engagement is essential to our success. The landowner survey we conducted this year showed satisfaction remains at 91%. With urban development on the rise generally and especially in Auckland, we remain focused on maintaining transmission corridors around our assets, as these are essential for public and worker safety. We now have corridor provisions in 40% of district plans around the country, and more are underway. Transmission corridors are essentially clear corridors around our assets with no development. Our challenge is to ensure we are included in the parties consulted on new development where we have existing assets, particularly in cases where properties near assets are being subdivided. Without clear corridors to maintain our assets, it becomes quite difficult. With a commitment to keep the grid footprint minimal and our costs low, we need to ensure we can maintain access to our existing assets over the years to come. This year, very pleased to report that our Community Care Fund made nearly $1 million of grants to over 40 projects around the country for projects close to our assets. These projects included bicycle tracks for low decile schools, to free healthcare services for at-risk youth, to reopening a community hall that had been closed for years in need of earthquake strengthening. Grants through the Community Care Fund in 2015-16 were around $90,000 more than over 2014-15. In total, we've granted nearly $8 million to local community improvement projects since 2007.
Transpower publishes a lot of information on its asset management, its financial performance, and our performance as grid operator. Our 2016 Integrated Transmission Plan demonstrates how we are making the right decisions relating to our assets at the right time so that everything we do aligns with our overall customer service plans. And these plans have 4 components. Our Integrated Transmission Plan 2016 is a concise, accessible overview of our plans. If there was one document you could read, this is the document to read. Secondly, a services report which describes our service offerings and performance targets and explains how Transpower management uses that in the operation of the business. Our Asset Management Plan 2016 explains our asset management framework, our management of each asset class, and a summary of planned works. And the fourth is our Transmission Planning Report, which identifies future transmission issues and potential solutions for the backbone grid and regional development plans. Our environment scan of the long-term future and our outlook is detailed in transmission tomorrow. All of those documents are available on our website, and we'd appreciate any feedback that you might have. I hope Alison and I have given you some meaningful insight into the business that is Transpower New Zealand, the operator of the national grid. We've got 700 hugely dedicated staff with a couple of thousand contracted staff as well, working on lines and services up and down the country. We're incredibly proud of the achievements of Alison and her team in the last 12 months, and the board of Transpower looks forward to another successful 12 months of Alison's leadership, but also that dedication of those 700 other people determined to make sure that you as New Zealanders remain connected to a smart and effective national grid.